My work is sometimes like the poppy flower. It has this almost romantic side, but yet it also represents a poison. Gunpowder. From its very essence, you can see so much of the power of the universe, how we came to be. You can express these grand ideas about the cosmos, very epic and heroic, but at the same time, it's used for such destruction. Gunpowder possesses a physical danger for anyone who's near it. But with time, you get to know the material. First, you have to accept that it's uncontrollable, and then work with it. I've worked with the material so long that I've gained an understanding of how it works. My way of doing it is just to flow with the material, to let it take me where it wants me to go.
所以我就是要一直让它使我麻烦和困难。
So I continuously wanted to give me problems, give me obstacles to overcome. This whole process of making drawing is very much like lovemaking. From the very beginning of laying down the paper, it's like laying down the sheets on the bed.
然后我们就开始在设想，今天要怎么做，然后就开始放各种药啊。
And it's a very long process, always working towards the final goal.
小心点，是。
And all the time there's this feeling that you just want it to explode, to finish. But you're afraid that maybe it's too early. Maybe it's not the best time yet. Maybe you need to work on it a little more.
而且这些炸它都会烧。那混红啊，要是有这种颜色的火药就很漂亮。小心不要让它封起来。没有空气的才好。石头都太轻了哦。还有大一点的石头吗？等一下，等一下。
And then afterwards, you either have great satisfaction or you have disappointment as to your entire performance. You can talk all day about the ancient philosophies and modern philosophies, art history, criticism, theory, subject matter, historical context, contemporary, postmodernism, form, representation. All these things can be discussed. But in the end, it's really this on-site performance, so to speak, that really makes it work.
我就是现在主要是想说的，我画了很多这种长卷呢。这个不是长卷。
What I'm using here is a sort of a fold-out sketchbook. It's not so much a scroll, but traditionally it's always been used for people to record their thoughts, almost as in a journal or a diary format.
可是这个画是读的，它不是那个中国人把看画也用叫做读画。
In Chinese, we actually say reading a painting, reading a picture, because it's actually page by page, section by section that you're reading this, not just looking at it.
它这个册页就是
These folded books are very similar in this aspect to the scrolls. The longhand scrolls are very traditional in Chinese painting.
这个我可以给他们看我父亲以前。
Here, I'd like to show you what my father has painted on silk, a very long scroll.
它跟那个长卷是一个。
Sometimes I see my explosion projects almost like these scrolls. Once you open it, it opens up the universe in that it seems boundless. As the explosion project unfolds, it's like opening up the scroll, but then it disappears. And yet it's pregnant with all kinds of possibilities. What really influenced me the most are these very tiny matchbox paintings that my father used to make.
都有了，但是我知道绘画是可以没关系的，可以不一样的，是这一点才是重要的。用钢笔这样画那个山。
He would paint these small landscape paintings with his ink pen. I saved some of these from that time. When I was little and I would ask what he was painting, he might point to one of them and say, "Oh, this is the sea of our hometown." But then I went back with him to our home village, and it was nothing like that. From very early on, I understood from these that art is not about what you say. It's about these other things that you don't say.
所以也可以说，整个展览是一个。
We can say that the entire exhibition at Mass MoCA is like a long scroll unfolding.
总体上就是联系了。
It links to my past, and it's linked to my culture as well. When I first saw the exhibition space, I felt that it was like a section of road, a very wide road that's been transported here. Further extending the idea of this path or journey is very much like taking a walk along this path. In the main gallery, as the first car takes off, tumbling through the air in a very dreamlike fashion, it lands safely back on its four wheels. Undamaged, unharmed. It's just a repetition. It goes right back to the very first car again.
Times Square 那个车也是这样。
The video in Times Square also borrows the image of the car bomb. This continuous cycle suggests that something might or might not have happened. This illusion that we're seeing in front of us. Ever since September 11th, the idea of terrorism is ever so present, always on our minds. This work obviously has some direct reference to these conditions that we live in now.
我做过10几个船的作品，我最近在回顾我自己的一个。
Looking at the work that I've done, I've noticed that things are sticking out of or into objects a lot. I think this has to do with my interest in explosion. But it also has to do with the aesthetics of pain.
就是作品上传达了一种很直接的一种生理上的感觉。
There is a very visceral response that the audience has to the work. They feel pain when they see the tigers. The tigers are realistically made, but they are completely fake. It's a stage setting that you enter into. It's through visual impact that you transmit these ideas, and it's through visual impact that this pain is felt. You can actually elicit a very direct response from the audience, a very strong response.
我做过10几个船的作品，我最近在回顾我自己的一个。
This installation in Washington, D.C., the sunken boat with the broken ceramic pieces, shows the power of destruction, the beauty of destruction, the aesthetic of decay. And in this way, I feel that this work is quite close to some of the things I'm discussing in the pieces at Mass MoCA as well. A number of years ago, I went to a factory in Delhua for a visit, and I saw all of these statues that looked perfectly fine, but they were rejects.
他们又要做这个伊拉克的这个瓷器。
Because of their imperfections, they're no longer considered deities.
这个船可以把我的词印出来。 那时候我就买
You
了
know,
几百个
I thought it was very strange. Without these imperfections, these were figures that people worshipped. They were sent to thousands of homes, including my own home. It seemed too arbitrary. Here, I see them as artwork. They don't hold so much of a deity's power. But if I take one from here and put it in the studio, I think my emotions will shift very naturally. This very fine line defines the nature of an object. I really like to hang things up. It defies gravity because I think I don't like the heaviness of things. The piece in Sao Paulo is obviously a plane made out of a vine.
这个作品是我一直也是想给这个
We have these sharp objects confiscated from the Sao Paulo airport stuck all over it. Again, it looks like it's inflicted with all this pain. I travel all the time, and I'm always flying in and out of airports. There are times when you just kind of have to stop yourself and think, do I have weapons in my pockets? You know, even nail clippers. I've had a few confiscated. So for this piece, we used all local materials, and we borrowed all the pieces from the airport. Behind all this is a very earnest and frank look at our society today and the cultural, political issues that we have to deal with. It really is an honest reflection of our world today. It's easy for us to depict things of this physical world, but it's very difficult to depict things that are not seen but that have a profound effect on us. And it's something I'm continuously exploring and trying to form. I take a lot from the ancient Chinese philosophies. These are very much infused in the art-making process. Maybe everything does not have to be resolved. Sometimes you can allow uncertainties to exist. The ever-changing, never constant. These are the kinds of ideas to understand the world.
To learn more about Art 21, Art in the 21st Century, and to download the free Educator's Guide, please visit PBS online at pbs.org. Art 21, Art in the 21st Century is available on videocassette or with additional features on DVD. The companion book to the program is also available. To order, call PBS Home Video at 1-800-PLAY-PBS.